Afternoon, Miss Bridgewater.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Likewise.
Thank you. The SAP reset date?
Yes, we're gonna jump all the way in the middle of October. I want to say the 15th.
Okay, thank you.
Let me look at this calendar to make sure I have it right, though. You've been gone so long, I should have had it right on point. It is October the 15th.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I just jumped in. I will need, if the interpreter here, I will need, to interview Mr. Garcia. I don't know the position on the calendar, uh, probably in a breakout or by phone or however.
Position number 9.
Okay. I'm not sure I hope the interpreter will be here.
The interpreter was notified.
Okay, thank you. Somebody did a lot of work Saturday. I sure appreciate it. I was figuring we'd be over 40 today, given we skipped Friday, but I guess they did a lot of cases Saturday.
I really don't know. I wasn't here, so.
Okay.
Neither was I, so I'm not
I
sure.
was home, but I was completely in the dark, so I might as well have been here,
Oh, wow.
Yep, that's so, yeah, we lost it for several hours.
Sorry to hear that, Mr. Cook.
Yeah, well, who knew that a hurricane coming out of the Gulf would do more damage in Asheville, North Carolina than the beaches of Florida? That is really strange.
Do we need any breakouts today?
Uh, well, I just need to interview this person. That doesn't necessarily need to be a breakout, I guess. But
Okay. Besides that.
yeah, I don't have anybody. I don't know if Mike has anyone.
Mr. McLean, do you need any breakouts today?
I think of any now.
Okay, awesome. Great.
How's Suarez looking?
Oh, I talked to her.
Oh,
We're
cool.
fine. We're fine. We're fine. She
Oh,
speaks English perfectly.
oh, that's
Better
great.
than me, which is
Oh,
not a shock. So I've got two at Mike. I've got two at ACDC. I assume you have some.
yeah, I've got one with no record who's undoubtedly going to get a signature bond. I've got
Well,
another one.
okay, well, that's the prerogative of Judge Morrow. But
That,
okay,
I was gonna
that,
say, I guess I'm just not needed today. I'll
yeah.
see
Well,
what.
look, Judge McLean is sitting in for you.
are, are we already starting?
Gee, you need to check and see who's on the broadcast before you. Okay. Well, you'll be sweating bullets on that determination, won't you? Okay.
Better.
I won't get off much.
Do we need an interpreter today?
We do.
Yes, and it's been requested. I think he or she's on their way. It is for Armando Garcia Cabello. I think was number 9. I think Mr. Bridgewater said.
He is.
Okay, and I haven't spoken to him yet, so it'll be a few minutes.
Well,
Okay.
you know what's crazy about today?
Well, I don't know. You've already started it off pretty crazily, but
Yeah,
what?
the fire and Conyers, we're not supposed to breathe the air. And right over here at the sink, it says we're not supposed to drink this water either.
Really?
Yeah, it's a
Are
boil.
are you in the building?
Yes, boil advisory. Can't drink our water.
Well, have they put that on the water fountains?
Get it out of the machine. Get your bottled water.
Okay. That's
Okay,
right.
looks like we have courtroom 2 on. Courtroom 2, I believe that we're ready whenever you all are.
Okay, Your Honor, do we have a add-on?
I saw an add-on come up, but I haven't seen an add-on calendar. Did anyone send out an add-on calendar, Miss
For Tammy Bailey, I believe it is.
it says requesting add-on from felony first appearance court, Tammy Bailey. Anyone know anything about that?
I do not see the
She
add-on.
wasn't on the pull sheet. So-
Well,
This email came from a Ruben Glanton.
That's my sergeant. Can you add that person on?
Certainly look at it if you'll send me the documents, somebody.
Ms. Allen, can you, this is the booking number 2416947.
Okay.
Thank you.
Officer Norris, could you repeat that? Because it comes up, one of us will have to handle it.
Yeah, it's 2416947.
Okay, thank you.
Cook, are you gonna be able to interview him,
Who is it?
It's gonna be,
McLean?
yeah, it has to be McLean because Cook has a few cases before McLean.
Yeah, I can do a breakout.
Okay,
All right.
Okay.
around.
Mike, I think a couple of years got bumped up to felony, I think.
2 of them did. That's right.
Yeah. And there was an NOD, I think, on one of yours, a late NOD.
Oh, I have not been able to check. Who is that, do you think?
I don't know. I might be misspeaking.
Okay.
Your Honor,
All right, so go ahead.
Position number 2, Miss Ayerindi.
Good afternoon, Mr. Yerendi. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Let me just say that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. We're providing you with a public defender today to assist you if you choose to utilize their services. You have been charged in case 24 CR 006755G with theft by conversion and theft by taking. Let's see who we have on from pretrial today. Ms. Hardy, good afternoon. Is there a history?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This defendant does not have any history, and the recommendation from pretrial is a UJR level 1 with parental co-signer.
Good afternoon, Ms. Desiano.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This incident took place over the course of a couple days from September 14th to September 28th of this year at the Target in Alpharetta at 13055 Georgia Highway 9. The defendant is an employee at the Target, well, probably a former employee at this point, and she was caught stealing money from the Target on the 14th. Someone purchased an Apple gift card of $500 and paid cash for it. And the defendant opened the cash register as if she was going to deposit it and then did not. And then the second incident was on the 28th, where the defendant is seen on camera removing $270 from the cash register. So total loss is $770, Your Honor. The state's requesting a signature bond, stay away from Target, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. Thank you.
Mr. Cook, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. No objection, Your Honor. I have a phone number for her mother. I don't have her mother's name. She may be the co-signer. If I could inquire of my client, her mother's name, but I guess that'll have to be put in the order. Ma'am, what is your mother's name? We spoke earlier by phone. You might remember. You gave me your mother's phone number. Do you have what is her name?
Kemi?
So could you speak a little louder?
Kemi?
Could you spell that?
Kemi.
And her last name?
Ayorinde.
Oh, you have the same last name. Okay, and she's in town?
Yes, sir.
Would she do you have any reason to believe she wouldn't co-sign for your bond? Because I could, okay. I guess we should use her then.
Well, given that this is her first offense, Mr. Cook, I'm gonna have it go through the jail, so I don't think that's gonna be necessary. It's
Okay.
going to be $1,000 signature bond through the jail on each offense. Makes a total of a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from the incident location target, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good luck to you, ma'am. I see that we have Miss Chansey on, so whenever we get, good afternoon, Miss Chansey, whenever, just so you know, courtroom two, Mr. Cook's gonna need Miss Chansey in a breakout room for position number 9 today.
Good
All right.
afternoon, Your Honor.
All right, you go with him. Oh, okay. What about this? Next is gonna be position number 13, Your Honor. Holloway.
Good afternoon, Mr. Holloway. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006769A with public drunk, willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer and disorderly conduct. Is there a history?
The last arrest for this defendant was December 14th, 2020, out of Forsyth County for fugitive from justice. They have a total of 2 arrest cycles, arrests out of Georgia and Florida, misdemeanor conviction in 2005 for battery, and felony conviction in 2021 for possession of cocaine. Nothing further to report.
Speciano?
Your Honor, this incident took place on September 29th at the Studio 6 Hotel at 9995 Old Dogwood Road, specifically room 214. Officers responded to a verbal dispute at that location. When they arrived, they made contact with the defendant, who stated that she was arguing with her partner and wanted to retrieve her items from the room. The officer went and got her belongings, went back downstairs. The defendant tried to purchase her own hotel room for the evening, and her partner did not provide the police with her wallet. So the officers went back up to see her partner, whose name is Janet Jackson. They observed Miss Jackson and the defendant to be very irate and intoxicated. They went back to get the wallet. At that point, they observed the defendant screaming profanities, hitting herself. Officers had to tell her multiple times to stay away. She refused. The hotel staff was also like visibly flinching when she would scream things. She was being very disorderly. And then she looked at the officer at one point and said, "I don't care. I will go to jail. You can watch me do it," and starts rummaging through her pockets looking for something and tells the officer that she was going to slash Miss Jackson's tires. And at that point, the officers arrested her, Your Honor. She has limited criminal history, Judge. The state's requesting a signature bond through pretrial services, no further contact with Miss Jackson, a stay away from that hotel, and no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond.
Cook?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, for the public drunk, it'll be a $500 signature bond through pretrial. For the willful obstruction, a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial. The disorderly, a $500 signature bond through pretrial, all level 1, makes for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Stay away from the location on Old Dogwood Road. No further contact with Ms. Jackson, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you.
Next, Your Honor, this is gonna be position number 19, Jaquil Robinson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Robinson. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006768F with criminal trespass. Is there a history?
No, sir.
This
Ms. Hart?
defendant has a total of 2 arrest cycles, arrests out of Georgia and New Jersey. Their last arrest was August the 5th, 2024 out of Gwinnett for destroy, remove, conceal, encumber, transfer, deal with property subject to security interest. And the recommendation from pretrial is a UJR level 2, nothing further to report.
Afternoon, Ms. Allen.
That's my case. Good afternoon. This is an incident that occurred yesterday, the 29th of September, between 2:30 and 4 p.m. The location is 1551 Avon Avenue Southwest. The allegation here is that the defendant entered and remained on the property. Property belongs to James Robinson, and he entered in through an unlocked door with a co-defendant. We would be asking for $1,000 surety. No contact with Mr. James Robinson, who owns the property at 1551 Avon Street Southwest, Avon Avenue Southwest, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Okay, Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, we would ask the court to consider a signature bond because he does have steady employment, which indicates that he would be organized in his habits and make court. He's a night auditor at a Holiday Inn. We have a stable address on him, and that's basically the argument.
Okay, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. No further contact with the alleged victim. Stay away from the Avon Avenue address. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Robinson.
Your Honor, what was that bond amount? I apologize.
Oh, you're fine. 3,000 signature through pretrial level 2.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, Your Honor, we're gonna go to position number 11, Mr. Reginald Hammond, and he wants to go pro se. Come on, Hammond. I need you to step up, sit in this green chair. Anybody else that talk, and I see you talking, I'm going to reset you. The judge just heard me. If I see you talking to each one, I'm going to reset you. Good day.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Hammond. And just for everybody else that's in there that might not have been in there when I initially said this, I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. We're providing you with the assistance of a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize their services and don't have a private attorney. Mr. Hammond, you've been charged in case 24 CR 006746Y with criminal trespass. It's my understanding that you do not wish to utilize the services of a public defender this afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does Mr. Hammond have a history?
This defendant has a total of 2 arrests out of Georgia and Washington, D.C. Their last arrest was January 30th, 2024 out of D.C. for unlawful entry. There is a 2003 CWEC charge felony conviction. They received first offender and it was sealed in 2017. The recommendation from pretrial is a UJR through the jail, nothing further.
Ms. Desiano?
Your Honor, this incident happened on Friday, which was the 27th, around 3 p.m. An officer was working off duty at the Peachtree Battle Shopping Center at 2345 Peachtree Road. The officer made contact with Mr. Hammond as he was walking through the parking lot. He noted Mr. Hammond was cursing and causing a disturbance. He drove past Mr. Hammond, rolled down his window, and told him, "You're not going to cause any problems today." Mr. Hammond replied, "F you." He was walking toward the Publix. The officer then repeated, "If you go over to Publix causing problems, you're going to go to jail." He said, "F you." And then the officer at that point got out of his patrol vehicle and asked the defendant to get off the property. And at which point the defendant refused and he was arrested, Your Honor. The state's requesting a signature bond through the jail and a stay away. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond.
Is it a stay away from where, Ms. Desiano? I'm sorry.
The incident location in the warrant, Your Honor, is the Peachtree Battle Shopping Center, 2345 Peachtree Road. They mentioned the public specifically. However, based on there appears to be some prior interactions with the officer that we're not privy to. So we would ask for the stay away to just be from the whole shopping center.
Okay, so from the shopping center at Peachtree Battle. Thank you.
Mhm.
So I'm going to give you a signature bond through the jail, Mr. Hammond. Hold on, Mr. Hammond. I don't want you to say anything because anything you say can be used against you. I'm going to give you a signature bond so that you can get out and come back and fight these charges. But at this time, if you say anything, it might be against your interest. Okay. So I'm going to give you a signature bond through the jail, so you'll be able to sign yourself out. Don't go back to that shopping center, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Okay?
Georgia, sir, because I'm a DC resident, sir. That's the question.
Okay,
The difference is the fact that that little walkway right there, there's a new apartment building, but there's a back way that you go up and go through the church. But literally, if you look at the video, that's actually on the quote unquote post stand in front of, like in that main parking lot, he literally was aggressive. And the point is the fact that I was walking through, which is true, but I wasn't going there. But the fact is I had $2. But the point is that that sidewalk right there, there's a cutoff in which you have to cross the street in order to get back on the right side. But the point I was in socks. He literally then said, I run this, but if you review the camera, he literally cut his body camera on, but then he said I was detained. The point he never read me my Miranda rights at all. And then
okay, so Mr. Hammond, I'm letting you out, okay? You're gonna get out on a signature bond. You're just gonna come back and fight this at a later time, okay?
I'm a Medicare.
So,
but what's the quote unquote No Fear Act?
okay, so we're done today, Mr. Hammond. Good luck to you, sir. Make sure you come back for your next court date.
What was the amount, Your Honor?
$1,000 signature bond through the jail.
You go sit down right there.
So the question is,
Hey,
I'm
Hammond,
just done. I understand it, but
He's
I
done.
don't understand that though.
I will explain it to you.
So okay.
I'll explain it to you. Go have a seat over there. Hey, next person to talk, if I catch you. Next is gonna be position number 17, Your Honor, Michael Morgan. Gonna be pro se also. We got a lot of pro ses today, Your Honor.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Morgan. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006764E with giving false information to law enforcement and 2 counts of criminal trespass. Again, you have a right to remain silent. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. It's my understanding that we've offered you the services of a public defender, but you want to represent yourself this afternoon. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Hardy, is there a history?
The last arrest for this defendant was October 28, 2023, out of Fulton County for burglary. They have a total of 6 arrest cycles in Georgia. Felony conviction in 2024 for burglary, criminal damage to property, and interference with government property. It appears that they're on probation for that case under 24 SC 001963. And the recommendation from pretrial is a UJR level 3, nothing further.
Okay.
Your Honor, this is an incident that happened on the 29th. So yesterday at about 3 p.m., police were called to 874 Dill Avenue Southwest. The owners of that residence are brothers, last name Manzo, excuse me, M-A-N-Z-O. Mr. Lorenzo Manzo is one of the listed owners. He reported that on surveillance, they saw a young man in the location, which is an Airbnb rental, who should not have been there. They had a rental person leave at 9 a.m. and the residence should be vacant. On scene, police approached and could hear very loud music playing. The back door had been entered. It was unlocked, or no, actually had been kicked in, and there was damage to the door frame, excuse me. The defendant was located dancing in the living room. He was directed to put his hands behind his back, and he complied. He then gave a false name of Michael Price to the APD officer, later was identified positively through other means. The defendant was just sentenced on the 16th of September here in Fulton County for criminal trespass or damage to property on the felony level, as well as burglary. So he's actively on probation and was literally just released from jail. We're asking for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor, as well as staying away from the location. Again, that is 874 Dill Avenue Southwest, and no contact, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Morgan, like I said, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. Is there anything you want to say to me?
No, sir.
Okay, you don't need to be at this Dill Avenue address, do you?
You said, say it again.
They're saying that you shouldn't be at this Dill Avenue address, okay? If I let you out, you can't go back to that address. You understand me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, I swear to God.
Okay, so if you go back there and they arrest you again, I'm not going to let you out next time, okay? So for each charge, it's going to be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. So it makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. No further contact with the Manzos, who apparently own that Deal Avenue address. You can't go back to that Deal Avenue address. And no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. All right, so I'm going to let you out, but you're going to have to make sure to come back for your next court date, and you got to make sure not to go back to that house, okay?
Yes, sir.
All
Oh, you
right.
want to stay?
As long as you don't have anything holding you, you'll be getting out as soon as the jail releases you, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Morgan.
Okay, that's law, just
Okay,
show.
okay, you have a seat right there. Good luck. Good luck. Next is gonna be position number 20, Mr. Damian Sinclair. He's also pro se. Come on.
What was the last thing you said, Norris?
Position number 20, Damian Sinclair, he's pro se.
Okay, pro se also. Okay, thank you.
No, you're not. He's a sovereign citizen, Your Honor.
A citizen,
Oh.
that's- we're,
Okay. So, Mr. Sinclair, you've been charged in case 24 CR 006737G with criminal trespass and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest for this defendant was September the 12th, 2024, out of Portage, Michigan, for assault. They have 43 arrest cycles, arrests out of Wisconsin, Michigan, California, and Ohio. Misdemeanor conviction in 94 for entering a non-commercial dwelling, 2006 resisting officer, 2017 assault. There was a felony conviction in 2008 for a CWAC charge, 2014 possession of controlled substance, 2018 interference with witness. Nothing further to report.
So 2018 is the last arrest?
The last arrest was in Michigan, this year. It was in September this year out of Portage, Michigan.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Alan?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on Friday at about 2:30 in the morning at 216 Peachtree Street. So that's Peachtree Center, MARTA Station. Officers were dispersing people who were there loitering at the MARTA location. They close at 2 in the morning. The defendant approached Officer Holder and said he had the right to be there because of the hurricane and weather. He was informed that no one could stay at the station after 2 a.m. and it was closed. He ignored commands that were given directly to him. And he also directed other people that they needed to stay as well and disobey the commands of the MARTA police. He then intentionally stayed at the location. When officers went to detain him, he tensed his arms to avoid being handcuffed. He pulled away to prevent the putting of both arms behind his back. And that's why he's charged with obstruction. He has a requirement to register. He's got criminal history out of Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and California. Multiple felony convictions for tampering with witnesses and bribery, as well as CWAC charges, Your Honor. This appears to be, I think, his first arrest in Georgia. Is that correct, Mrs. Pretrial?
Yes, that's correct.
So for some reason, he's here and he should probably go. We're asking for a $2,000 surety bond. This gentleman has a serious and violent criminal history. Stay away from all MARTA locations. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Sinclair, is there anything you want to say?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, before you say that, let me just remind you that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you, okay? But I'm going to allow you to speak if you want to. Go ahead.
I did ask for the assistance of counsel, but also to be able to assist in my legal defense.
Do you want the assistance of counsel today, Mr. Sinclair? It's not too late for me to get somebody to talk to you if you want somebody to assist you. So it's my understanding that you didn't want anybody earlier, but I'm happy to give you the opportunity to speak with somebody if you'd like me to.
Yes, just
to be able to, help assist me in my,
He spoke to Mr. Mike McLean, Your Honor. He did speak to McLean.
Right.
Okay.
I understood from the announcement going into court just now that he had switched his mind over to the other thing, but I'd be glad to speak to the court on his behalf.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, he has an address listed on his 3 card. It is a mail drop type address, but that's oftentimes effective and efficient and useful as long as the person promises to use it. Given the nature of the conversation, although he is alleged to have tensed up and pulled away a bit when he was arrested and handcuffed, and that is the gist of the obstruction charge. Nonetheless, I would urge to the court that that would be a de minimis amount of any kind of physical disruption, and the rest of it is a disagreement about the law, and the defendant can put forward his arguments in front of a jury later. So as long as he promises not to miss our court, I would ask the court to consider a signature bond or a very low surety bond.
So you're telling me he has a place to reside. Is that right, Mr. McLean?
No, this is a mail drop. 275 prior is a mail drop. While he's in Atlanta, I don't know where he'll reside, but he can check his mail.
Okay, so he does not have a place to reside.
Well, I don't know that for sure. Well, we're going to have to ask him directly because the mailing and the attending court these days when people are, he hasn't been in Atlanta long. Mr. Sinclair, do you have a place, shelter?
Yeah,
Which shelter are you going to use?
Atlantic City Baptist Rescue Mission.
Okay, that's the one on Peters Street, and they're very reliable with their mail service. I've had clients there before.
Okay. Given the nature of the charge and this totality of the circumstances, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. It'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2 on each charge, makes for a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Stay away from the Peachtree Street Station, Martis Station, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Mr. Sinclair, I'm going to give you the opportunity to get out and come back and fight these charges, but if you go back to that Martis Station or if you get into any other trouble, it will be revoked, okay?
That's good.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Sinclair.
Thank you.
Next, Your Honor, we're gonna go to position number 5, Mr. Vernon Cox.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cox. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006758E with simple battery. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
This defendant, the last arrest was October 31st, 2018, out of Fulton County for simple battery. They have a total of 17 arrest cycles with arrests out of Georgia and New York. There's a felony conviction for possession of marijuana with intent in 1980, a burglary felony conviction in 1976. Nothing further to report.
Cassiano?
Your Honor, this incident happened September 3rd, 2024. Officers responded to a dispute call at 1050 Ponce de Leon Avenue, specifically the 7th floor. The victim in this case is the defendant's neighbor, and his name is Clarence Allen. He stated that he's had multiple issues with the defendant, saying homophobic slurs to him and things of that nature. On this specific date, he stated that he was walking by the defendant's apartment. The defendant was waiting for him to walk by, started using homophobic slurs toward him, and pushed him. The victim stated there's another neighbor who's also homosexual that's having similar issues with him. He had no injuries from the incident. However, he did state that he finally called the police because he's been having several issues with him in the past. The officers also spoke with the leasing office, who stated that the defendant is soon to be evicted, and they believe there may be some MH issues, Your Honor. So the state's requesting a $1,500 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, Clarence Allen, a BHET, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol, and a stay away to the extent that's possible. And if you can sound for Mr. Allen, thank you.
Clarence Allen's on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Mr. Cook, is this your case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, my client is 74 years old. He does live in that, I guess it's an elderly, home. His position is very different. He said, the alleged victim in this case ran up to him with something in his hand and just acted in self-defense. Pushed him. That they clearly don't get along very well, from what I can tell. But he believes this was simply an act of self-defense and denies the allegations as stated in the warrant.
Okay, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. While he is on pretrial, I'd like for him to have a BHET. No further contact with Mr. Clarence Allen. Stay away from Mr. Allen's apartment. I'm not sure if we know the apartment number, Ms. Destiano, but if we do, I can put that in the order. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
1 moment, Your Honor. I'll put it in the chat if I can find it.
Okay, thank you.
What was that amount, Your Honor?
$3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2.
Thank you.
Okay?
Give me a chance, so he's gonna take some time for him to get up. You got it?
Okay.
You got it? Yeah. There you go. Good job. Have a seat right there.
So, do you have the Spanish interpreter case?
I do, Keith Cook. Yeah, I do.
All right.
They're ready for
We
the month.
got one more,
Original break
and then we're gonna go to the Spanish interpreter.
Okay.
It's gonna be position number 12, Mr. Derek Heitman.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Hakel. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006767C with simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest was June the 19th of this year out of Fulton County for an FTA. They have a total of 6 arrest cycles in Georgia. There was a misdemeanor conviction for simple battery family violence this year. Nothing further to report.
Your Honor, this incident happened September 29th. Officers responded to 1856 Wells Drive regarding a fight in progress. The victim is Dodd Hicks, who goes by Regina Hicks. Ms. Hicks showed the officer footage of the defendant pushing her and punching her and placing his arm around her neck during a physical dispute. There were no injuries. The parties do live together at the incident location, Your Honor. The state's requesting a $1,500 surety bond, no further contact with Ms. Hicks to stay away from the incident location, anger management courses, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And if you can sound for Ms. Hicks, thank you.
Ms. Destiano, that other 2024 charge, do you know if it was the same victim or somebody?
One moment, Your Honor.
And if Ms. Regina Hicks is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. While Ms. Destiano's looking for that for me, you can go ahead, Mr. Cook.
Yo,
Yes, Your Honor. My client and the alleged victim lived together for 2 years. I was not able to get in touch with Miss Hicks. He is a cook and has been a cook here in the Atlanta area for several years. However, his income is fairly modest. We would be seeking, therefore, given the nature of the charge and the bail restrictions, we would be seeking a surety bond at as low a level as we can get, given his financial situation. Certainly, we would not object to a signature bond through pretrial if that would if he qualifies for that.
And Your Honor, I'm searching his name. I can't find any other active case with that. The only case that's popping up is this case. Let me check.
Ms. Hardy, when was that other arrest that I believe that you said it was a 2024 conviction?
Yes, bear with me and I'll look and find out where that was at.
Yes, Your Honor, I also looked through the jailing screen in the release jailings, and there's no other arrest for this individual at the Fulton County Jail.
Okay, it's showing that this was out of Paulding.
And what was your recommendation, Ms. Hardy?
It's restricted.
Right, it'll be $1,000 good bond. No further contact with Miss Regina Hicks. Stay away from the Wells Drive address. If need be, he can have a one-time escort to retrieve any belongings that he might have there. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir.
Your Honor, now you can put, courtroom 1, Spanish interpreter and cook into a breakout.
Okay, thank you. So if we can get that done, and we'll go on to some of Mr. McLean's cases.
It's at some point, I understand I'm supposed to break out with somebody on an add-on calendar too.
Apparently that calendar is not going to, it will be taking place tomorrow, is my understanding.
Okay, all right. Well, everything else I've got is ready.
Hey, Your Honor, is there any way they can speak to the victim today?
I don't know, Miss Desiano or Miss Allen, did you hear the request?
Yes, we're working on it. This person was taken into custody at 9 this morning. Or booked in at 9 this morning. There's just a limited amount of time for us to do some of this stuff, but we are working on it.
Okay, all right, so just let us know if you can, and if you can, we'll go ahead and do it today if that's okay with everybody. If not, we'll have to do it tomorrow then.
Judge,
All right, who do we have next?
Next, Your Honor, we're gonna go to position number 1, Mr. Alexander Amy. And he's conflict.
Okay, Ms. McLeod, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Amy. Let's see, you've been charged in case 24 CR 006754G with simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
Yes, Your Honor. This last arrest for this defendant was July 15th, 2024, out of Atlanta for driving while license suspended or revoked. They have a total of 60 arrest cycles with arrests out of Georgia, Florida, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Misdemeanor conviction for battery family violence in 2003, simple battery in 2005, 2006 affray, 2023 battery family violence. There's a misdemeanor conviction for aggravated assault and terroristic threats and acts from 2023. Also in 2023, aggravated stalking and theft by taking. 2018, possession of cocaine with intent. It appears that they're on probation for 3 cases out of Fulton County. The first one is 17 SC 148759, and that's for possession of cocaine with intent. And the next one is 22 SC 184441, and that's for aggravated stalking and theft by taking. And 22 SC 184440, aggravated assault, terrorist threats and acts, and battery family violence. Nothing further to report.
Thank you. Stesiano?
And Your Honor, the most recent case that pretrial just mentioned is the same victim. The aggravated stalking and the possession of cocaine are different cases. This incident took place August 21st, 2024. The incident location is 3528 Condor Court in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Lasagna Lewis. She reported to police that she and the defendant were in a verbal dispute over another woman, and that during that argument, the defendant pulled her hair and then broke their fish tank before leaving the incident location. The parties lived together. She had no visible injuries. However, He is on probation for an aggravated assault that he committed against her, and he has been ordered to have no further violent contact with her. We've been in touch with Miss Lewis today. She states that they're in a relationship. They live together at the incident location. They don't have children. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She states this is not the first time that he's been violent toward her. She's in fear. She stated that she had to flee the residence with her children and stay with multiple family members because the defendant was still at the residence and refusing to leave. She states that she's very concerned for her safety. She's concerned if the defendant's released from jail. She states that she knows if the defendant gets out of jail that he will definitely come back to the residence. She's filed for a TPO. It was granted. She obviously wants no contact and would like for him to stay away. She also does not want a law enforcement escort to come get his belongings. She would rather coordinate giving his belongings through one of his family members because she's concerned with him showing up to the incident location at all. Your Honor, given his extensive criminal history and the fact that he's on probation for multiple violent offenses, including this victim, the state's requesting a $2,500 cash bond, no further contact with Miss Lewis, stay away from her residence, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And if Your Honor can sound for Miss Lewis, thank you.
If Ms. Lysandra Lewis is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Yes, Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is not in a position to pay a cash bond. He is currently unemployed and has been unemployed for some time, he tells me. So 2,500 cash will not work for him. I would ask the court to consider making his bond, if it has to be 2,500, a 2,500 surety bond. I know that he may have problems paying that as well, just based on what he tells me, Your Honor. He also tells me that he has nowhere else to live other than this location. But of course, since she obviously does not want to have contact with him, he's going to have to find somewhere else to go.
And Your Honor, if you're not inclined to order a cash bond, we would ask for a surety bond of no less than $10,000.
Well, if he can't pay a $2,500 cash bond, surety bond, he's unlikely to be able to pay a $10,000 surety bond. I'm just being factual about it. He's not working, and he doesn't have anybody to help him to make bond.
And Your Honor, of course, we would argue it's the Yala factors. He's a danger to this victim. Specifically, he's on probation for 3 felony offenses. Aggravated stalking, and Ms. McLeod is saying he can't afford it and he's got nowhere else to go, which furthers the argument that he should have a high bond because when he is released, he will go back to this victim, even though he's going to be ordered not to have any contact.
Well, if there's I thought you said she was going to get a restraining order. Obviously, if there's a restraining order, he can't go back there.
It's my understanding there is a restraining order. But you've also just said that he has nowhere else to go. And the victim's statements were that she's concerned that he's going to come back regardless.
Okay, anything else from either counsel?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, it'll be a $5,000 good bond, no further contact with Ms. Lewis, stay away from the Condor Court address, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Wright.
Yes, sir. Thank you. That concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, have a good afternoon. Thank you, Ms. McLeod.
You too.
Next, Your Honor, we're going to go to position number 14, Mr. William Howell.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Howell. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006752J with theft by shoplifting. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest for this defendant was August the 16th of this year out of Barrow County for an FTA. They have a total of 12 arrest cycles in Georgia. Felony conviction in 2018 for theft by taking and theft by conversion. They received first offender treatment on that and it was sealed this year. There appears to be a hold out of Chattanooga, Tennessee for larceny. The date of that warrant is May the 18th, 2024. The recommendation from pretrial is UJR level 3. Nothing further to report.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred at a Target on Roswell Road, 1135 Woodstock Road in Roswell. This is from, hold on. I believe it is. One moment. So the investigation that took place related to theft at this Roswell Target revealed that on surveillance, the defendant is seen with a co-defendant placing items in a cart and then concealing those items with a jacket, going through the self-checkout and failing to scan multiple items that they then leave without paying for. Specifically, a report was made on March the 8th of this year regarding a theft that occurred on February the 19th of this year. While investigating that theft, it was discovered that this defendant took $368.95 worth of toys off the shelf, went through without paying by concealing these items under his jacket. Multiple investigations at targets in DeKalb, Cobb, and Gwinnett County were all connected, and the defendant was identified through investigative tools related to that and the use of a vehicle, and a warrant was obtained for his arrest. He does have every kind of theft conviction imaginable, including a prior shoplifting, although not the 3 prior requisite to make this a felony. We'd ask for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor, and in order to stay away from all target locations, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Literally just got out of jail for shoplifting in May and again in August. Thank you.
And I have the, just to make sure, Ms. Allen, the offense date is February 19th of this year?
It is,
that
Your
right?
Honor. It is.
Okay. Thank you. Is this your case, Mr. McLean?
It is, Your Honor, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
The main argument we would have to ask the court to consider a signature bond, Your Honor, would be that he is self-employed in the HVAC area, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. And so he does have the skills to maintain his livelihood and his sustenance. And there would be no reason for a person to, if a person is up to this sort of thing, there's no reason to continue. And his promise to come back to court would be backed up by having a stable address. We understand the record is what it is, and that is a burden. But we would ask the court to consider that it was, obviously we're a misdemeanor court, so at least it's not a felony. The best we can say about it.
Okay, well, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3. I'm gonna have him take an anti-theft course, stay away from all targets, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Howell.
Next is going to be position number 15, Mr. D'Angelo Lawrence.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lawrence. You've been charged in case 24 CR 0067553B with simple battery, family violence, theft by taking, criminal trespass, and damage to property, and another charge of theft by taking. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest for this defendant was July the 24th, 2018 out of Fayette County for conspiracy to violate the Georgia Controlled Substance Act and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. They have a total of 10 arrest cycles in Georgia. Felony conviction in 2019 for possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony and possession of marijuana with intent. They received first offender treatment on that, and it was sealed in 2022. Nothing further to report.
Your Honor, this is my case. This is an incident out of East Point. It occurred on the 28th of September at about 4:30 in the morning. Police were called to 3129 Candlewood Drive, apartment F. There they made contact with the defendant first. He was seen trying to make entry into the location, forcing his way into the front door. They noted in the police report that dispatch reported that the defendant was seen assaulting a woman. He was specifically described as wearing a reflective vest, fighting a woman and breaking her phone, the person who called 911 said. So on the scene, police see the same gentleman with the reflective vest, shoving his way into the residence there at apartment F. They make contact and they hear a woman screaming, "I told him to do that, but also, where are my kids?" He was sweating profusely and reported that he'd been in an argument with the woman he shares a child with. Her name is Raven Hilliard, as well as her cousin, a young woman named Amy, Amey, last name James. The defendant reported that he'd been at work when he looked on the victim's Instagram and saw that she was sitting on the couch with someone he didn't know, a man at home. She'd posted a picture. And so I guess he decided to leave and go home and fight with her about it. He came to that residence and they argued. He admitted that he took her phone. And he said that the cousin, Mrs. James, struck him in the face. He also admitted breaking Mrs. James's phone. He denied there was a physical assault, although I'm not sure how you would describe taking people's things, breaking things, and fighting over things. The victims, both of them were spoken with. Mrs. Raven Hilliard, who is the person who shares a child with this defendant, said he came to the location upset and trying to get inside. He took her phone. Her cousin Amy argued with him, and then he took Amy's phone as well and broke it, and Amy called the police because of how aggressive the defendant was being. It's noted in the police report that these ladies were not really excited about giving their personal information and getting involved. We see that frequently. But ultimately, an investigation revealed what had happened. They did speak with Mrs. Amy James. She reported that she and her cousin were asleep at the location when the defendant woke them up by kicking in the front door. 911 was called. He came inside angry, looking for a man because he was upset about an image he saw on Instagram. He became aggressive, took Raven's phone. She was trying to get it back from him. That's when Amy stepped in. All three of them engaged in a physical struggle over the phones. And the defendant broke Amy's phone. I'm not sure if victim Raven Hilliard got her phone back or not. So we've got theft by taking of the phone of Amy James. We've got criminal trespass, damage to property for damaging that phone, theft by taking of the phone of Mrs. Hilliard, as well as simple battery, family violence. Mrs. Hilliard did report that the defendant mushed her and shoved her in her face during this altercation. I would note that the report lists the incident location as all three individuals' address. However, the booking report for this gentleman lists an address in Marietta. That is the facts, Your Honor. This gentleman does have a first offender conviction. We have been in touch with Ms. Hilliard today. She reported she will be on Zoom. I don't see anyone with that name, but if you would sound for her when we're done. She reports that she and the defendant share children. She now has changed her version of events and denies that this happened. She says she was never hit. He never took her phone. It was just an incident between her and her cousin. I'm not sure if Amy James is present, but ultimately what we have, Your Honor, is a 911 call describing an assault. The defendant matching that description on scene, pushing his way into the location, a damaged entryway, a statement by a victim and her cousin who's a witness on scene. And as is typical, a change of perception or a change of the facts here in front of the court when it's time to talk about what happened. We'd be asking for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial with a requirement for no contact, to stay away from the location, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. And if you'd sound from Ms. Hilliard.
Ms. Hilliard or Ms. James, if either of you are on the line and wish to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. I see two ladies that might fit the description. If you would like to address me, I'll need for you to unmute your phones and I'll have to swear you in.
I would like to address it.
Okay, so you're gonna have to come on camera for me and you're going to have to unmute your phone and then you're gonna have to tell me who you are.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can hear you now, ma'am. Can you raise your right hand for me?
You said, can I do what?
Raise your right hand for me so I can swear you in.
Okay.
I think that's, raise your other right hand for me.
I'm sorry.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Okay, now tell me who you are.
I'm Raven Hilliard.
Okay, Ms. Hilliard, what would you like to tell me?
I was just coming in regards of D'Angelo Lawrence. I was a person named in this situation, but I asked to speak to a sergeant on the scene because I was telling them that I wasn't involved in that. It had nothing to do with me. So any charges regarding me is false.
Okay, so you're telling me that you were not assaulted by Mr. Lawrence on September 28th?
That's correct. And I explained that to the sergeant and officer on the scene on that day. So I don't understand how my name was still involved or any charges with regarding me was against him.
So you tell me what happened.
D'Angelo did come to the house. He kicked the door until I opened it. He came in the house. He was very aggressive. He was irate. During the time that he was in my location, in my residence, he had grabbed my phone. So we tussled over the phone. He gave me my phone back. He also had my cousin's phone in his hand. They tussled over the phone, but he threw her phone down and it broke.
Okay, and why were you tussling over a phone? Why were you tussling over a phone?
Because it was my phone and I wanted it back from him.
Okay. All right. Let's see. And you share a child with Mr. Lawrence?
I'm sorry?
You share a child?
I share children with him.
How many children?
We have 3 children together.
Okay, and do they stay with you or do they stay with him?
They stay with me.
How old are they?
The youngest is 4, and we have an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old. I'm sorry, a 10-year-old.
And where were the children when all this tussling was going on?
They were with D'Angelo, but they weren't with him at the time of that incident. They were wherever he had them at the time, but they were with him.
So they were not in the household, your household?
No, they weren't in my household. They were with him wherever he resides.
All right. You have any questions, Miss Allen?
Where does Mr. Excuse me, D'Angelo Lawrence, where does he reside?
Ma'am, you would have to ask him that. He doesn't reside with me anymore. We have been separated and live separately for about 3 or 4 months now. His residence, his name is on that residence, but he hasn't resided there in about 4 months.
But what was the reason for him coming to the location if he doesn't live there a few days ago?
That's something you would have to ask Mr. Lawrence.
Your Honor, we're just gonna again request the bond that we've requested. I think the basic information on the record shows that this young woman is just not interested in being any help in this process, but she has confirmed every single thing in the warrant and the information that was presented by the state. In addition, what she presented is that she's not in a relationship with this gentleman and he does not reside at the location. The reason for this altercation was out of jealousy and coming to the location. She said on the record that he came and kicked the door until she allowed him in. He was irate. He grabbed her phone. He took her cousin's phone. He broke that phone. This is clearly behavior that is concerning. And honestly, the only reason it was reported is because there was a third party involved. These situations are complicated and folks have history and share children, but that does not mean that this isn't criminal behavior. This was also reported by someone else who witnessed this and witnessed an assault. So we would just renew our request for a surety bond, Your Honor. He has no reason to be at that location. And she literally just told the court she doesn't know why he came over there. She's refusing to answer that question. She doesn't want to make a statement against him.
It was my understanding that you requested hold on, ma'am, hold on. Okay, if you can, I can't hear her, so if you can
putting
mute.
words in my mouth as an officer that arrived.
Okay, Just to clarify, Ms. Allen, I have down that you asked for a signature bond through pretrial.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes, based on his history, I'm requiring no contact, not to go back to that
Okay.
location. That's the issue. I apologize.
Okay, no, you're fine. I just want to make sure I heard you right.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. McLean?
No objection, Your Honor. Appropriate conditions would be in the court's discretion.
Okay, so it's gonna be a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 1 on each charge, makes for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. I don't see why they need to be around each other, so no further contact with Ms. Hilliard or Ms. James. Stay away from the Candlewood Drive address. Third-party transfer of the minor children for visitation, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Hello?
Okay, so, all right, y'all, good luck to all y'all.
Oh, that was, okay.
Okay, who do we have next?
Position nine, dispense over the case.
I got some.
Oh.
Okay, say it again for me, I'm sorry.
Position number nine, the Spanish interpreter case.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Chancey. I appreciate you being here this afternoon. If you can raise your right hand for me.
Yes, sir.
Do you swear affirm that you will translate from Spanish to English and English to Spanish to the best of your ability?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Garcia Cabello. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video.
Buenas tardes, señor Armando García Cabello. Yo soy el juez Eric Morrow, tratando la lista de causas de trámite rápido a través de video.
You have been charged in case 24 CR 006762A with battery family violence.
Usted ha sido acusado en el caso 24CR006762A con un cargo de golpes y lesiones.
Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
¿Hay antecedentes, señora Hardy?
Ms. Hardy, are you with me? Do you have a history, Ms. Desiano?
I do, Your Honor. He's got
Okay.
one cycle out of Texas.
Tiene un ciclo de procesamiento en el estado de Texas,
Which is a immigration related arrest.
que fue un arresto relacionado con el Departamento de Inmigración.
And he has 4 cycles in Georgia, which are all prior driving without a valid license.
Y tiene 4 ciclos de procesos en el estado de Georgia relacionados a manejar sin licencia.
This incident occurred September 29th at 1955 Ladon Lane Northwest.
Este incidente ocurrió el día 29 de septiembre en el 1955 Ladon Lane, en Atlanta.
The victim in this case is the defendant's sister, Jasmine Garcia Cabello.
Y la víctima en este caso es la hermana del acusado, Jasmine García Cabello.
She advised the defendant came home drunk around 9 p.m., acting very aggressive and irate.
Ella dijo que el hermano llegó a eso de las 9 de la noche, borracho, agresivo y con una actitud violenta.
She advised things began to escalate, so she grabbed her children and went upstairs to get away from him.
Ella dijo que las cosas empezaron a empeorarse, entonces tomó a sus hijos y fue al piso de arriba.
The victim did not feel comfortable leaving her siblings downstairs with the defendant's state of mind.
Y ella no se sintió, la víctima, cómoda dejando a sus hermanos debajo, en el piso de abajo, con el acusado en este estado mental.
So the victim returned downstairs and saw the defendant grab her cousin.
Y entonces la víctima volvió, bajó las escaleras y vio que el acusado tomó a la prima.
The victim attempted to separate the two when the defendant grabbed her, leaving visible bruising.
Y la víctima trató de separarlos cuando el acusado la tomó fuertemente, dejándole moretones.
The cousin was not cooperative with police and would not provide her name or speak.
Y la prima no quiso colaborar con la policía dando nombre u otra información de identificación.
We've been in touch with the victim today.
Hemos contactado a la víctima hoy.
She says that she and the defendant lived together at the incident location.
Ella dijo que ella y el acusado vivían en el lugar del incidente juntos
She confirmed the events in the warrant.
y confirmó todos los eventos relatados en la orden de arresto.
She states the defendant was intoxicated at the time of this incident and gets like this when he drinks.
Dijo también que cuando esto ocurrió, el acusado estaba intoxicado y que él reacciona de esta manera cada vez que lo está, que toma.
The victim stated the defendant needs help with his drinking issue.
Y también la víctima dijo que el acusado necesita ayuda con su problema de beber alcohol.
And the victim would like no contact at this time and would like for the defendant to stay away from the residence.
Y la víctima quisiera no tener más contacto con el acusado y que también el acusado se mantenga distanciado de la residencia.
And the defendant will need a one-time law enforcement escort to retrieve his belongings.
Y el acusado necesitará una oportunidad para ir a la residencia con un oficial de policía y retirar sus pertenencias personales.
The state's requesting a signature bond through pretrial services.
La fiscalía está solicitando una fianza bajo firma a través de los servicios previos al juicio.
No further contact with the victim and stay away from the incident location.
No tener más contacto con la víctima y mantenerse alejado del lugar de la residencia.
We're asking the defendant undergo an alcohol and drug evaluation and follow any recommended treatment. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond.
Y también la fiscalía solicita que el acusado se someta a una evaluación de drogas y alcohol y también a tratamiento si se lo requiere, y queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas mientras esté bajo fianza.
Nothing further, Your Honor. If you could sound for Ms. Garcia Cabello. Thank you.
No da más, sus señorías, y por favor se puede llamar a la señora García Cabello. Está la señora Jazmín García Cabello en la plataforma. Por favor, avísenos o prenda su cámara. Jazmín,
I see you're on the line here.
yeah. ¿Puede prender su micrófono, por favor? No podemos verla ni escucharla. Debe prender su micrófono, por favor. Ok, ahora al lado de la figurita de la cámara hay un microfonito. Si por favor puede tocarlo para que se prenda. ¿Lo puede ver al micrófono? Normalmente está abajo a la izquierda de la pantalla, al lado de la cámara que usted apretó para poder vernos. debe tocarlo para que se prenda.
Ms. Chancey, ask her if she can hear us to shake her head up and down.
Por favor, si nos puede escuchar, diga que sí con la cabeza. Yes.
Okay. Now
She
let her know
just
that
can't find the
Uh,
icon, Your Honor, I think.
I'm happy to hear from her if she can find how to unmute herself. So I'll give her a moment to do that.
Le vamos a dar un momento para ver si alguien le puede ayudar a prender el micrófono. Es un micrófono que está en rojo, tachado, y si usted lo toca, se prende. Debe estar por ahí cerca de la cámara.
Okay, well, as she tries to do that, Mr. Cook,
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 38 years old. He works in he builds kitchen counters and tables and the like. He's been doing that for about 14 years.
Mi
be
cliente
mindful
tiene
of- be
38
mindful-
años.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mi cliente tiene 38 años y él trabaja haciendo mostradores de cocina y todo lo relacionado a eso y ha estado haciendo ese trabajo durante 14 años.
He's lived in the Atlanta area about 18 years.
Y ha vivido en el área de Atlanta durante 18 años.
He does have a couple of other places he can go, if that is the order of the court.
Él tiene un par de lugares a donde ir si esa es la orden de su señoría.
So we really don't have any objection to the bond, and we can deal with the conditions. We would object to the alcohol evaluation.
Nosotros no tenemos ninguna objeción acerca de las condiciones de la fianza, pero solamente objetamos el requisito de tomar una evaluación de alcohol.
Nothing further.
Nada más.
Okay, I believe that the alleged victim's wishes have been adequately articulated by Ms. Desiano, so I will follow those wishes as to what she has told the solicitor's office.
Yo creo que la víctima, o sea, los deseos de la víctima han sido bien expresados por la señora Desiano, entonces voy a otorgarlos de acuerdo a cómo la oficina de la fiscalía los ha solicitado.
As such, it will be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1.
Como primero, le doy una fianza de $3,000 bajo firma a través de los servicios previos al juicio en el nivel 1.
No further contact with Ms. Jasmine Garcia Cabello.
No tener más contacto con la señora Jasmine García Cabello.
Stay away from the LaDawn Lane address.
Y también mantenerse alejado de la residencia en la dirección que está en LaDawn Lane.
He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings.
Puede solo regresar una sola vez con la fuerza del orden, un oficial, para retirar sus pertenencias personales.
No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Y queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas mientras esté libre bajo fianza.
Good luck to you, sir.
Buena suerte, señor.
And let's see, and if you will just let Ms. Garcia Cabello know that the hearing is ended and hopefully she heard what you articulated.
Señora García Cabello, la audiencia ha terminado su señoría espera que haya podido escuchar lo que yo dije bien.
And Miss Chancey, if you could also let her know if she has anything to add, she can contact our victim advocate.
Y por favor, la señora Deciano le dice que si necesita usted saber algo o si necesita algo, que por favor llame a la oficina de defensora de víctimas. I think she said okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Chancey.
You're welcome, sir.
We appreciate you being here this afternoon.
You're welcome. And have a great evening, sir, and everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Your Honor, what was the dollar amount again?
Puede retirarse, señora.
It was a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1.
Thank you.
Okay.
This is going to be position number 16, Mr. Derek Morgan.
Good afternoon, Mr. Morgan. You have been charged in case 24 CR 006766J with simple battery, family violence, and theft by taking. Ms. Hardy, is there a history?
Yes, Your Honor. This defendant, the last arrest was July 28th, 2024 out of Dunwoody for a probation violation. They have a total of 22 arrest cycles, a felony conviction in 2014 for theft by receiving. They received first offender on that, and it was sealed in 2017. 2023 criminal damage to property. Out of Missouri, they have a 2017 forgery felony conviction. Nothing further to report.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on the 12th of September, 2024. Police were called to 334 Betsy Avenue. There they spoke with the victim. Her name is Deja, D-E-J-A, last name Gates, G-A-T-E-S. She reported that she got home from work at the location and the defendant became upset with her because she was on her phone. He snatched her phone from her hand. And then the word she used was that she was choked by the defendant grabbing her neck and pinning her against the wall before he left with her personal items, her phone and her purse. She was able to use her Apple Watch to call 911 after the defendant fled. She reported that the children that she shares with the defendant, I believe, were inside the residence when this incident occurred. She didn't have any injuries on her at the time police spoke with her on the 12th, but she did provide information about the defendant. And both of them have an address that's different than the location on the report. The address that is listed for these individuals is 378 Illinois Avenue. A DV investigator was assigned to the case and followed up by reviewing body-worn camera, reviewing the report and looking at whether there were any prior reports. They did notice that there was a report from 2020 as well as a report from 2022 about violence against the same victim. We've not been able to reach out to the victim successfully yet today, Your Honor. I had multiple questions to get some clarification here, but unfortunately we weren't able to get much. At this point, just based on the criminal history, Your Honor, we're asking for a $2,000 surety. Stay away from wherever Deja, last name Gates, may live or reside and have no contact with her, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. He's got a 2023 shoplifting conviction, multiple failure to appears, multiple arrests for simple battery and damage to property. He's got a felony conviction, like you heard from pretrial from 2020 at a Cobb for damage to property and false information, as well as one from out of state, and then a previous felony conviction from 2014.
Thank you. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, let's see, I want to make sure I'm not muted. Your Honor, thank you. Works in a warehouse in Union City and has done so for several months. Let's see. Your Honor, because of the address situation, I don't think there should be any problem in them being apart. He promises that he will come to court on time. He is, despite on his 3 card, it shows an out-of-state place of birth, but nonetheless, he's a local person. He's been in the Atlanta area 10 years. So He's pretty localized now. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond and any appropriate stay away conditions if necessary.
Okay, if Ms. Deja Gates is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity. As such, for the simple battery, it'll be a $750 good bond. For the theft, it'll be a $250 good bond, makes for a total of $1,000 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Gates, stay away from her residence, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir. Your client has his hand up, Mr. McLean.
Is there a breakout way, or is there a way for call my desk phone to answer any question you may have?
Or can you call him later and just let him know if he has any questions regarding the bond?
If the deputies could have him call extension 25215, great.
All right, who do we have next?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. ACDC with position number 3, Ms. Baker.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Milton.
Good afternoon. sir.
Good afternoon, Ms. Baker. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006756F with willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest for this defendant was June the 18th, 2012, out of Marietta for driving while license suspended or revoked. They have a total of 3 arrest cycles out of Georgia. Nothing further to report.
Cassiano?
Your Honor, this incident happened August 30th. There was a detective with the Georgia World Congress Center police that was investigating a property damage incident that occurred at the Red Deck Garage at 285 Andrew Young International Boulevard. The defendant's car was seen with a male driving it, striking another vehicle, and the damage to that vehicle was over $1,000. When questioned about her boyfriend, who was a suspect in the case, she told the defendant that she didn't know her boyfriend's name, would only provide a nickname, and then provided a false phone number. The state's requesting a signature bond through pretrial, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. Thank you.
Any objection to any of that, Mr. McLean?
I'm sorry, what number was it, Your Honor?
This is position number 3, Ms. Baker. Is that your client?
That's mine, Your Honor. No objection.
All right. It'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Baker. Welcome.
We have position number 18, Mr. Murray.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Murray. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006765A with 2 counts of battery family violence and 1 count of simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest for this defendant was September the 18th, 2014, out of DeKalb for false report of a crime. They have a total of 3 arrest cycles in Georgia. Nothing further to report.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This case encompasses 2 separate incidences. The first police report was made on September the 11th, excuse me. Police were called to 3044 Kentucky Court, that's apartment 2, at about a fight. Dispatch reported to the police who were on the way that a woman who was maybe named Regina had called 911. On scene, the report indicates that the victim was seen to have visible injuries, but she was reluctant to provide her name. She had swelling to her eye, and she had blood on her forearm. Eventually, she became cooperative and reported that her husband, the defendant, had argued with her, and the result was she got punched in the eye. She said that physical assaults are common, and she really just wants him to leave her alone. She identified herself eventually as Bridget Bates, BRIDGETT. She identified the defendant, and she was actually transported to be treated, Your Honor, for medical purposes. They were concerned about internal injuries. A warrant was taken out. Then on the 28th of September, police were called to the same location. Again, this was at 11 p.m. that evening on the 28th. Again, dispatched to a fight on scene. They came into contact with Ms. Bates, who again reported that she and her husband had argued. She was trying to leave the residence and he became upset. He grabbed her by the back of her hair and jerked her back inside. She reported that the defendant had been drinking. And then after pulling her back inside, she reported that the defendant punched her twice in her face. She was seen to have multiple small lacerations on her face on the left side while talking to police. The police actually located the defendant somewhere nearby on foot and put him in custody. He now had 2 different altercations and assaults on the same victim from the same month because he had this active warrant. We've tried to get in touch with Mrs. Bates. This morning, we haven't been successful yet, Your Honor. Based on the report and the multiple incidences here, we're asking for a $2,000 surety. Stay away from the location. Again, that address is 3044 Kentucky Court Avenue, or Kentucky Court Apartment 2. I apologize. No contact with Ms. Bates and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Although the defendant does have criminal history, it is not recent, Your Honor. And that's it. Thank you.
Mr. McLean, is this your case?
Yes, Your Honor, it is. It is the distance in time. It is the length of time since 2014 that would be our main argument in asking the court to consider a signature bond. We realize these are serious offenses here, however. Your Honor, if Your Honor could give him a signature bond or a low surety bond, and if the court felt it was necessary to have no contact, he could stay with his brother who lives in Kirkwood. His brother's named Virgil Murray, and I have a phone for him. So that sounds like would be a reasonable condition, whatever the court decides. And he also, I should say, he works for a construction outfit. He gets his work through local 515 of a labor union, and so he is industrious and stays gainfully employed, and that's a good thing to say about his character.
All right, thank you. If Ms. Bridget Bates is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. All right. For each of the battery family violence, it will be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. For the simple battery family violence, it'll be a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Makes for a total of a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Ms. Bates, stay away from the Kentucky court address, no drugs, a one-time escort, a police escort if necessary to retrieve any belongings, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Murray.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Next, we have position 21, Ms. Suarez.
Good afternoon, Ms. Suarez. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006770E with 2 counts of battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
No, Your Honor, this defendant does not have any history to report.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you. This is an incident that occurred yesterday at about 2 a.m., so September the 29th. Police were called to 435 Worthington Hills Court. That is Roswell. There they met with the victim. His name is Renee Antonio. He reported that the location is where he lives with the defendant, his wife, that when his brother and girlfriend came to the location, his wife, the defendant, became angry and asked him to have them stop covering up the Ring camera. When she believed that her husband was taking the side of his brother, she became upset and she demanded the car keys. At that point, she grabbed the victim by his collar and caused scratches on his neck. She struck him multiple times while holding him by the collar of his shirt, causing bleeding scratches around the back of his neck as well. she had made admissions on the scene, reported that she was trying to take the keys out of his pocket so she could leave, and that she was mad because her husband took the side of his brother. This is her first arrest. We did make contact with Mr. Antonio. He is Spanish speaking. He reports that there is no history and that he's not afraid, so we'd ask for no violent contact, Your Honor. We'd also ask for a SOB through pretrial, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and no further violence.
Any objection? And let me just make sure that Mr. Rene Antonio is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Okay, any objection to any of the state's requests, Mr. Cook?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, for each of the battery family violence charges, it will be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, makes for a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 1 day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Mr. Antonio, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Suarez. You're welcome.
Next, we have position number 24, Mr. Woods.
Good afternoon, Mr. Woods. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006773E with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest for this defendant was May the 16th, 2011, out of Broward County, Florida, for a probation violation. There was they have a total of 9 arrest cycles out of Florida, felony conviction in 2009 for grand theft. And there also appears to be a hold out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for probation violation, and the date of that warrant is December 11th, 2012. Nothing further to report.
Alan?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on the 27th of September. Police were called to 3242 Drexel Lane. That's apartment 12, and it's in East Point. This was a fight between roommates. These are roommates that used to be in a relationship, Your Honor. When police arrived on the scene, they spoke to the defendant, who reported he'd been arguing with his ex-boyfriend, David Wilson, who's the victim in this case. The defendant denied anything physical had occurred, and then said he threw a fan, a black fan, across the room because he was pissed at the victim. He was detained while police were able to investigate and speak to the victim. They spoke to Mr. Wilson, who reported that he and the defendant had been watching football. The defendant got loud and was yelling. They had an argument, and the defendant took a fan, a black fan, and threw it into the television and shattered the television. Police saw the thrown fan. They saw the shattered television, and that's the charge in front of you, Your Honor, criminal trespass. We'd ask the court to issue $1,000 surety bond. He doesn't have any current history, but he clearly fled the state of Florida after committing multiple felonies there. We'd ask for no contact and to stay away from the location, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. We'd actually request no violent contact. I'm sorry. Thank you.
What's the alleged victim's name?
Victim's name is Mr. David Wilson, and if you would sound for him.
Mr. Wilson is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so.
Yeah, I'm on the line.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't have any issues.
Hold on, Mr. Wilson. Raise your right hand for me, please. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. What would you like to tell the court?
No, like I said, someone called me and I'll let them know, like, hey, I don't have any issues. Like I said, he's still my roommate, he's still my friend, he can still come back. I don't feel like he was going to be violent towards me. It was just one incident that happened, and I don't have any issues as far as with Corey Woods.
Okay, so nothing like this has ever happened before?
No. It was just one incident that happened, and that's it. I don't have any issues towards him. No.
Your Honor, the police report indicates that the defendant was belligerent and intoxicated on the scene, spoke very negatively of the victim, and was clearly upset, made admissions about the damage that he'd caused. And so although, the victim is here in front of you saying that they don't have a problem and this hasn't happened before, the state had some concerns about the behavior. We would specifically request no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and request that the defendant be subject to screens and maybe a ADET if you're going to allow contact.
Mr. Cook?
Oh, no, that's me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. McLean.
That's okay. Your Honor, given the nature of charges, the throwing of the fan of the TV, and there was a lot of excitement going on. I'm not saying that I'm not saying I've figured out what he was mad about, if he was angry at all, but we would ask the court to consider a signature bond. I understand it was a television that was a misdemeanor amount. I think $200 was mentioned in of course, it could have been a more expensive TV. I'm not gainsaying that, but it just didn't happen to be. He needs to go take care of it in Florida, and he's looking forward to getting that behind him. We would ask the court to speed that up by giving him a signature bond. He works at the Coca-Cola bottlers on Mason, which is a large warehouse that was built about 7 years ago. He's been working there over half a year. And before that, he was working at Amazon.
Okay, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Mr. Wilson, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Woods.
Your Honor.
You're welcome.
What
Who do we
was
have?
that, Your Honor?
$1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1.
Thank you.
Okay,
Position 22, Ms. Thomas.
good afternoon, Ms. Thomas. You've been charged in case 24 CR 0067771F with battery. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest for this defendant was June the 10th, 2015, out of DeKalb. I'm sorry, which position is this, Your Honor?
This is position number 22, Ms. Thomas.
Okay. Last arrest was June the 10th, 2015, out of DeKalb for an FTA. There's a total of 15 arrest cycles, arrests out of Georgia and Tennessee. There is a felony conviction in 2011 for theft by taking, 2006 possession of cocaine, 2004 aggravated assault. Nothing further to report.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Thank you. This incident happened on September the 28th at about 5 a.m. Police were called to 890 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard Northwest. That's the Soul Good restaurant. There they met with the victim, who's noted to be an acquaintance of this defendant. Her name is Clarissa Dean. That's Clarissa. Last name Dean, Dean. She reported being in line at the location ordering food when the defendant walked in and punched her in the face, and then left on foot. A description was provided of the defendant, and police located her nearby. They also spoke to a cashier, as well as someone else at the location who witnessed the assault. The victim was seen to have a laceration to her left eyebrow area while talking to the police. This defendant does not have criminal history from recently. Her last arrest was for a failure to appear in 2015. She does have an aggravated assault conviction, Your Honor, and we tried to get in touch with Mrs. Dean today and haven't been successful yet. We'd ask for a $2,000 surety, no contact, stay away from that location, the Soul Good restaurant at 890 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard Northwest. Stay away from wherever Mrs. Dean may live, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
Ms. Dean is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Okay, who's representing Ms. Thomas?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, she is a local person. She was born in Chicago, but has been here many years. It wasn't completely out of the blue what happened between them. There was an incident that was not seen by the witnesses that were quoted by the police at the time. I wouldn't call it self-defense exactly, but it still makes it more understandable what went on here. We would ask the court, considering the length of time since 2015 for that last arrest, and given the nature of the charges, to give her a signature bond, Your Honor.
Okay, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Ms. Dean, stay away from her residence. Also stay away from the Soul Good restaurant on Joseph E. Boone Boulevard. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Thomas. You're welcome.
Next is position number 4 in courtroom 2, Mr. Abdul Cornelius.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006757F with loitering and prowling and criminal trespass. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest for this defendant was January 23rd of this year out of Henry County for an FTA. They have a total of 17 arrest cycles with arrests out of Georgia, Louisiana, and New York. There was a felony conviction in 2013, sale of controlled substance, 2012 robbery, a misdemeanor conviction in 2010 for obstruction. Nothing further to report.
Graciano?
Your Honor, this incident took place September 29th. Incident location is 798 Dixie Avenue, apartment 2. Officers responded to a report of a burglary in progress around 5:50 in the morning. The victim in this case is Ashley Pate. She and the defendant have a child together. She reported that her child's father attempted to enter her second floor apartment through a window. When she heard the tussling, she saw it was him, asked him what he was doing. He asked, "Where's your car?" And then she immediately called 911 and the defendant fled the scene. The victim advised that the day before she had taken their daughter to visit with the defendant at Little Five Points. When it was time for her to leave with the child, he refused to get out of her vehicle. He eventually got out of the car and then called her a couple of times. And then this incident took place the following day. The officer left the incident location and parked a street over to make the report. When Miss Pate called the police back and stated that he had returned to the location and he was throwing things at her window. We have been in touch with Miss Pate today. She states that she and the defendant are no longer in a relationship. They do have a child together. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She stated that last month the defendant showed up to her residence and snatched her Ring camera, that he was arrested and sent to Atlanta jail for that. Victim also stated that the defendant violated a TPO that she had on him in Henry County, which was the basis for the aggravated stalking case that I believe is currently open in Henry County. She states that she's in fear of the defendant and that he'll try to retaliate against her, as he has contacted her employers in the past. Apparently, there's a custody agreement in place between these parties where the defendant is required to have supervised visitation for a period of time. And that supervised visitation has not yet started. And then after he graduates from supervised visitation, they're supposed to meet at the target location. At no point is he supposed to be at her residence. She plans to file for another TPO after this incident. She obviously wants a no contact and a stay away. Your Honor, we're requesting a $2,000 surety bond, no contact with Ms. Pate, stay away from her residence, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And if Your Honor can sound for Ms. Pate, I believe she's on the line.
Ms. Pate, if you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. I'll need for you to unmute yourself and raise your right hand for me, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you can place your hand down. Thank you, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
I don't have any specific suggestions in terms of bond. I'm just asking the court to make their bond a deterrent to this type of actions, because it's a repeated cycle for us. I had the 1-year protective order, and then I tried to get a 3-year protective order, and he actually evaded service on that. I actually applied for another protective order today that was granted temporarily, but it needs to be served. And since Mr. Cornelius doesn't have his last address is in Fulton County, but currently he does not have I don't think he has an address. I'm not sure where he's living, and I would like to get him served while he's there.
Okay, and you all already have some type of custody arrangement for your minor child or children?
We do, but he's currently not in compliance with either the physical custody portion, the visitation portion, or the child support. So I'm just going to be asking that it's just no visitation.
Okay. Thank you for being here this afternoon, ma'am.
Your Honor, may I inquire
Thank
the
you.
witness briefly? Ms. Pate,
Yes.
for the is the case that y'all have in Henry County, the aggravated stalking, is that case still open?
That case has been closed with the plea. He pled out for that case.
Okay, are you
And
aware if his condition of his probation is to have contact or no violent contact with you?
sure, I just know they ordered a psychological evaluation and I don't know if that's been completed. I'm not sure about the other conditions.
Okay, nothing further. Thank you, Judge. You're muted, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Asiano. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 34 years old. He's not working. He has no income. We understand the situation, but the charges are loitering and prowling and criminal trespass. If the court would not consider a signature bond, we would ask for a surety bond at the lowest possible level, given he has no income. He's obviously got some other issues in other jurisdictions, and we don't have any objection to the conditions asked for by the state.
Okay, for each of the charges, it'll be $1,000 good bond. It makes for a total of a $2,000 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Pate. Stay away from her residence. Abide by any pre-existing custody arrangements for any minor children, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. All right, good luck to you all.
You done.
Thank you.
He already made his ruling.
Next, Your Honor, is position 23, Miss Wilson.
Good afternoon, Ms. Wilson. You've been charged in case 24 CR 0067772H with simple battery, family violence, and battery. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
No, Your Honor, this defendant does not have any history to report.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on August the 31st, so this was reported a while ago, but the arrest was just made. At 7 p.m., police were called to 2441 Cheshire Bridge Road, Northeast. There, the defendant's ex-husband, Alster Wilson, or soon to be, I guess, Alster Wilson, Alstair Wilson, as well as a process server named Kyle Hudson were present. They reported that Mr. Wilson reported that while a pending divorce is happening, these individuals have addresses in Conyers and Hampton, Georgia, Your Honor. So they were just meeting here for the purpose of service, I guess. He reported that while having the defendant served, he had asked her to meet him, and she was served a TPO that once served with documents by Mr. Kyle Hudson. She attacked both of them, actually. There are two other witnesses to this incident on scene. Punches to the face repeatedly to the ex, Mr. Alster Wilson. He reported having pain on the lower jaw area on the right side of his face. The process server, Kyle Hudson, had visible scratches all over his arms and reported that the defendant tried to grab him around his neck. Information for the defendant was provided, and initial report was reviewed, Your Honor, by a domestic violence investigator with APD who saw prior reports of harassment filed by the victim in this case about harassment by the defendant at his place of work, and a warrant was obtained. We're asking for $1,000 SOB through pretrial, but we're asking for the requirement be no contact whatsoever with Mr. Wilson or with Kyle Hudson, the process server, if that should be even possible. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Okay, if Mr. Wilson or Mr. Hudson are on the line and wish to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Is this your case, Mr. McLean?
It is, Your Honor. We have no objection to what the state just proposed.
And Your Honor, I'm sorry, just to be clear, the incident location is not where either of these people live. It is the job of the victim. And so we request that there be a stay away from that location as well. It appears that the TPO was petitioned for and obtained because the defendant came unwanted to the residence of this gentleman and was threatening. So there's an ongoing issue. And that address is Cheshire Bridge. It is 2441 Cheshire Bridge Road Northeast. Thank you. I apologize.
No, that's fine. So the Cheshire Bridge Road is the address that you wish to have the stay away from.
Yes, she needs to stay away from Mr. Wilson as well as his residence, but this is his employment, his location of employment.
Do we know his residence address?
I believe we can put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
All right.
claim.
For the simple battery, it would be a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the battery, a $1,500 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Makes for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Mr. Wilson or Mr. Hudson. Stay away from Mr. Wilson's residential address as well as his business address on Cheshire Bridge Road. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Wilson.
Next, Your Honor, is going to be position number 6 in courtroom 2, Mr. James Davis.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Davis. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006759Y with 2 counts of battery and 1 count of criminal trespass. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest for this defendant was February the 2nd, 2022 out of Monroe County for possession of methamphetamine. They have a total of 22 arrest cycles in Georgia. Misdemeanor convictions in 2000 and 2014 for simple battery. Felony conviction in 2022 for possession of methamphetamine. Also in 2021. In 2000, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and possession of marijuana with intent. Nothing further to report.
Cassiano?
Your Honor, this incident took place September 28th at the Ameris Bank Amphitheater at 1130 Sanctuary Parkway in Alpharetta. Officers responded regarding a dispute. The security at the event told dispatch that there was an intoxicated male at the top of the parking deck that was involved in a verbal dispute that appeared to be escalating with some other males. Officers arrived and they observed the defendant yelling near a silver pickup truck. He was visibly very intoxicated, slurred speech, odor of alcohol, unsteady on his feet. He told police initially that he was jumped by the men in the pickup truck. The males in the pickup truck are the victims in this case, Enoch Reinhardt and Austin Variotto. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your names. They told the officers that they did not know the defendant. They had never seen him before this incident, that the defendant approached them actually asking for directions for how to leave the parking lot. They told him. The defendant then got into a gray vehicle and tried to back out of the parking lot at the same time that one of the victims was trying to get into Mr. Reinhardt's vehicle. And for whatever reason, the defendant stopped his vehicle and got out of the car and started yelling at both of the victims. He first approached Mr. Variotto and began punching him. And based on his level of intoxication, most of his punches actually missed the victim. However, he did make contact with one of them. And Mr. Variotto did suffer an injury. And also Mr. Variotto told the police that he punched the defendant back in self-defense. When the police initially arrived, they did notice some blood on the defendant's mouth and were investigating based on the defendant's statements that he was jumped. However, they determined that Mr. Variotto was acting in self-defense. The defendant then approached Mr. Reinhardt, and Mr. Reinhardt was in his vehicle. He punched him in the left eye and cheek and also scratched him on his forearm. He then took 2 of the driver's side doors of Mr. Reinhardt's vehicle and began slamming them repeatedly, breaking the window latch on the vehicle so the window would not close. We've been in touch with both victims today. Mr. Variotto confirmed the events of the warrant. He stated he does not know the defendant, and the defendant was accusing him of damaging his car. He does not want contact. We've also been in touch with Mr. Reinhardt, who confirmed the events of the warrant. He stated that he was feeling very nauseous after this incident and sought medical care and was actually told that he has a concussion. He has not yet gotten an estimate for the damage to his window. He does not know the defendant and obviously would like no contact, Your Honor. Judge, the state's requesting a $3,000 surety bond. That's $1,000 on each count. No contact with Mr. Reinhardt or Mr. Variotto. Stay away from the amphitheater. We're also asking for an alcohol drug evaluation, Your Honor. This defendant is on probation for possession of meth. He's got 4 other convictions for possession of meth in the last couple of years. And in this case, the officer noted he was very visibly intoxicated, which is interesting because he's on felony probation for drug use. And he was also trying to drive his vehicle, which is obviously very concerning. So we're asking for an alcohol drug evaluation, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And Your Honor, I see Mr. Reinhardt on the line, if you can sound for him, and also Mr. Variotto. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Reinhardt and Mr. Variotto would like to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. You, of course, do not have to, but if you would like to, you'll have to unmute yourself and I'll have to swear you in. Okay. Doesn't appear that Mr. Reinhardt would like to address the court. Mr. Cook.
Yes, Your Honor. My client is gainfully employed for a company that manufactures medical devices. He was at a concert, apparently with these other folks. His position is that they were the aggressors. They started the fight. He was acting in self-defense. Nothing further, Your Honor. As for the rest of it, we would leave it in the court's discretion.
Your client has his hand up. Mr. Cook.
No probation. No, I'm on nothing. I'm not on no probation or nothing.
Okay, I think he's saying that he's not on probation. Is he currently on probation or not? Can someone tell me?
I'm not.
Your Honor, he was sentenced to 3 years of probation in 2022 in 22 CR 00205 out of Monroe County. So unless it was terminated early, he's still on probation.
Terminated early for drug court. I completed drug court, sir.
Okay, and that was for the possession of meth charge, is that right?
So I completed.
Yes, that's his most recent one, Your Honor. There's 4. In addition to his 2 prior battery convictions.
Okay, so for each of the batteries, it'll be $1,000 good bond. For the criminal trespass, a $500 good bond. Makes for a total of a $2,500 good bond. No further contact with Mr. Variotto or Mr. Reinhardt. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir.
Judge.
Was that 2,500 total, Your Honor? Did I miss something?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
There were 3 charges, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Who do we have next?
Going to be position number 7, Mr. Draker.
Good afternoon, Mr. Draker. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006760H with battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
No, Your Honor, this defendant does not have any history to report.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Sessiano.
Your Honor, this incident took place September 28th. Incident location is 25 Terminus Place. The victim is Trinity Arts. She and the defendant live together. They also have a child together. Police were called after a dispute. Both parties advised that they were in a verbal dispute, and the victim, Miss Arts, was standing in front of the door trying to speak with the defendant, who was trying to leave. He grabbed her neck and pushed her down, trying to leave the location. The victim got back up, told the defendant to leave. The argument continued, and then he turned around and pushed her down again. The victim had a visible mark to her neck. We've been in touch with her today. She states that these parties they're no longer in a relationship. However, they still live together at the incident location and they do have a child. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She states this is the first time the defendant's ever been violent towards her. She states that she's not in fear and would like to continue contact, and she's okay with the defendant returning to the residence. It's his first arrest, Your Honor. The state's requesting a signature bond through pretrial, no further violent contact, anger awareness class, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if Your Honor can sound for Miss Artis. Thank you.
Ms. Artis is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. I see you there, Ms. Artis. If you'd like to address the court, you certainly don't have to, but if you would like to, now is your opportunity to do so. I would have to have you unmute yourself and activate your camera for me. Okay, does it appear like as though she would like to address the court? Mr. Cook, is this your case?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 30 years old. He owns his own construction company. We have no objection to the recommendation by the state, except to anger management. He has no criminal history, and again, he's not sure if he wants to go back. But if the option's there, that's fine. If not, he can go elsewhere and stay away. So we're a bit indifferent as to that part of the sentence, or that part of the conditions.
Okay, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Ms. Artis, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Drayton.
Next, we have position number 8, Mr. Ephraim.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ephraim. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006761D with simple battery, family violence, terroristic threats and acts, willful obstruction of law enforcement officers, and hindering persons making an emergency telephone call. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
No, Your Honor, this defendant does not have any history to report.
Thank you. Ms. Daciano?
Your Honor, this incident took place on the 29th yesterday. Officers responded to 1214 Greenfield Lane in Sandy Springs. The victim is the defendant's mother, Ineb Ahmad. She told dispatch that her son threatened to kill her. When they arrived, they made contact with Ms. Ahmad. She told police that her son was locked in his bedroom. The officers tried to get into the bedroom, but the defendant refused to surrender himself. The officers forced the door open and the defendant barricaded himself in the closet, and he eventually came out and was detained. After he was detained, officers then spoke with mom. She advised that her son has special needs. She stated that the incident began in the kitchen. The defendant grabbed her glasses and then refused to give them back. That's when he started threatening her. She told him that she was going to call 911, and he got upset and grabbed her phone and then grabbed a TV remote and threw it at her head. We've been in touch with Miss Ahmed today. She states that she's mom. They live together at the incident location. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She states that her son is on the spectrum and also has a chromosomal disorder. She states that she called the police because she wanted to de-escalate the situation. She states that her son has never been physical or violent towards her in the past. She stated this behavior started on Friday. He's never acted this way before. She says he's not prescribed any medication. She states that she believes the defendant needs therapy and he's currently still in high school. She's not in fear and would like for him to return home. Judge, the state's requesting a signature bond through pretrial, no further violent contact, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond. And I believe mom is on the line. If you can sound for Miss Ahmed, thank you.
Ms. Ahmed, if you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. I'll need for you to activate your camera for me, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Can you raise your right hand for me?
Yes, sir.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down. Thank you, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court about your son?
No, is there any way My niece, she can talk behalf of me. I'm just have speech, English. So can she talk on behalf of me?
Of course. What is her name? What is her name?
Barsenet.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down. Tell me your name, please.
Barcy Aschalo.
And Ms. Eschello, how are you related to Mr. Ephraim?
I'm his cousin.
Okay, and what would you all like to tell the court about Mr. Ephraim?
በአማርኛ ነገር እና ያ ማለት እሱ ምንም እንደማይጎዳኝና እንዲመለስ ወደ ቤቱ I'm the only one እኔ ነኝ ያለሁት። Bemnet, the only family member, like immediate family member that he has is his mom. She's not scared for her safety. She believes that when he comes back home that he will go back to how he normally acts. He's not violent at all. First time incident at the house that they've ever had. Again, it only started yesterday. Again, she believes that he's okay to come home anytime the court allows him to.
Okay, and how old is he?
18.
Okay, so someone's gonna have to come and sign him out and pick him up. Are you all someone able to do that? Is that gonna be his mother?
Yes, her mother.
Okay, so Miss Ahmed will come down and do that. All right, I appreciate you all being here this afternoon, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Mr. Cook.
Yes, Your Honor, we have no objection to the state's recommendation. I guess for the order that was Aned, Anedahmed. That's what I had for the mother's name? Is that what
I see on the screen. That's what I see on the screen, Mr. Cook.
Okay, that's fine. No objection to the state's recommendation.
Okay, so for each charge, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, makes for a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further violent contact with Miss Ahmed, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Given his age, Miss Ahmed will sign him out. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Ephraim.
And next we have position number 10, Mr. Gibson.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Gibson. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006763Y with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
And the last arrest for this defendant was September the 7th, 2018 out of Fairburn for entering auto. They have a total of 32 arrest cycles with arrests out of Georgia, California, and Nevada. There's a 2008 misdemeanor conviction out of California for burglary. Let's see, there is a felony conviction 2013 entering auto, also in 2013 burglary, 2016 burglary, and 2018 entering auto. Nothing further to report.
Ms. Graciano?
And Your Honor, the entering auto that pretrial spoke about, it was like 14 counts. Well, there's two separate cases. One was several counts and one was one count. Your Honor, this incident took place yesterday. The incident location is 145 Malone Street in Fairburn. Officers responded to a criminal trespass call. The property, this property is owned by the Davenport family, and Clarence Stiegel and his sister Julie Davenport. It's my understanding that are the siblings of the person who lives in the residence. It's Willie Davenport. And it's my understanding that Miss Julie Davenport has power of attorney over Willie, and Willie lives at the location by himself. So his brother Clarence called the police because there was someone who was in the house that should not have been there. He called to report that the defendant was inside the location. He was not permitted to be there. He's been criminally trespassed from this property several times. He gained entry to this residence by climbing through an open window. And when police arrived, he was laying on the couch. When the police arrived, they found the defendant still on the couch with a handgun next to him. The defendant told the police that he was there to see Willie, and he was arrested. The last time he was trespassed from this location was back in August, and he keeps returning, obviously. Your Honor, this defendant has an extensive criminal history, felony convictions for burglary and entering auto. He has also probation violations. We, of course, requested this case be upgraded based on this defendant being in possession of a firearm as a convicted felon, and also entering this home. Our request was denied. We have spoken with the brother, Mr. Siegel, who did confirm that his brother Willie does not own any firearms. So we have a situation here with a man who has an extensive history of breaking and entering into houses and cars. He has been told multiple times not to come back to this address where he knows that Willie lives alone. Willie, of course, probably has diminished capacity because his sister has power of attorney over him. He then brings a gun to Willie's house. And of course, he wasn't let in through the front door like an invited guest would be. He climbed through the window to do what we don't know, because thankfully the police were called in time before something else happened here. But we would certainly argue that this man is dangerous to Willie. Willie is vulnerable, being that he likely has diminished capacity. And there's a high risk of reoffense here because he's clearly gone back to this property after being told many times not to. And just given his criminal history, Your Honor, we've been in touch with Mr. Siegel, who's Willie's brother. He stated that his sister at one point allowed the defendant to stay with them several months ago, but the defendant was belligerent and disorderly, and they kicked him out, basically, and they've had to call the police multiple times because he keeps returning to this residence. They're obviously very concerned for Willie and his safety because this time the defendant brought a gun, and they don't really understand why he would bring a firearm. They obviously want no contact and would like for him to stay away. Your Honor, we're asking for a $10,000 surety bond, no contact with Willie Davenport, Clarence Siegel, or Julie Davenport. Stay away from that incident location. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And Your Honor, I believe Willie's brother, Clarence Siegel, is on the line.
Okay, Mr. Siegel would like to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Okay. Either he doesn't hear me or he does not wish to address the court. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, we understand the situation. My client would not have.
Well, explain the situation to me, Mr. Cook. So when you say we understand the situation, I don't understand the situation.
Well, I mean, he apparently, well, I'm sorry. Their position is that he continues to go to this location where he knows these folks, and he apparently believes that this is his home. That's what I'm hearing over and over again. Now it is true that the charge here is a criminal trespass. He has no money. We would ask for something dramatically lower than what was asked for by the prosecution. However, in speaking with him, and I don't know that I've ever asked for this, I think a social worker visit and perhaps even a BATT would be appropriate.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. So I agree. I'm going to be on that SAP calendar on October 5th. So I would like for the social worker to report back to me at that point in time to let me know what's going on with this matter. I understand it's only a criminal trespass, but I understand the state's concern in the matter, and there seems to be something else going on that the court's not aware of at the present time. So as for now, it is going to be a $2,000 good bond. No further contact with Willie Davenport or anyone in the Davenport family. Stay away from the Malone Street address. a BHET and with a social worker visit, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Okay,
Was that SAP October 5th, Your Honor?
now that's my understanding is October 15th.
15th, okay. That would be, okay. Certainly.
Okay, your client has his hand up, so if you could speak with him after court today to let him.
I will do so, Your Honor.
All right, so he'll be in touch with you, Mr. Gibson.
How? I don't have any money on my books. I can't call out.
He's gonna call you.
Okay, all right. Does that take care of the calendar for this afternoon? Is that everyone?
Yes, Your Honor.
What are we doing with that?
I'm sorry. We have Miss Daly right here. I don't, is she on anybody's calendar?
Miss Allen was supposed to, what's the status, Miss Allen? Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I've tried to get in touch with the officer. We don't have a report yet.
Okay.
She'll have to be on the calendar tomorrow.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you for trying.
Yes, of course. And it'll be ready. We'll get it together.
Okay. Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. I might have missed this. There was I interviewed a Renato Guzman.
Felony transfer.
Thank you.
Recidivist.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions before Ms. Bridgewater goes over the calendar? If not, whenever you're ready, Ms. Bridgewater.
Once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is October the 15th. Position number 1 is going to the SAP calendar with a $5,000 good bond. Position number 2 is reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through the jail. 3 is reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through pretrial. 4 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $2,000 good bond. 5, reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 6, SAP calendar with a total $2,500 good bond. 7, reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 8, reset further notice with a total $4,000 SOB through pretrial with a cosigner. 9, reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 10, SAP calendar with a $2,000 good bond. 11, reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through the jail. 12 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. 13, reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 14, reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 15, reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 16 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $1,000 good bond. 17, reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 18, reset further notice with a total $5,000 SOB through pretrial. 19, reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 20, reset further notice with a total $4,000 SOB through pretrial. 21, reset further notice with a total $4,000 SOB through pretrial. 22, reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 23, reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through pretrial. And 24, reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through pretrial. Are they?
I'm sorry, can you repeat number 7?
Number 7, I have it as reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any others? No?
It looks like the jail's asking for the breakdown on number 2.
On number 2, the breakdown is $1,000 SOB through the jail on each charge, making it a total of a $2,000 SOB through the jail.
All right, thank you all. I hope you have a good rest of your afternoon, and I will see you tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. Judge, this is
Thank you,
on
Judge.
20. I'm sorry, Ms. Hardy, did you have enough? Okay, I guess she's gone. All right.
Judge, you're here with us tomorrow?
I am, yes.
Thank you. Okay, great.
Braves lose first game.
Oh,
Got one,
say it ain't
got,
so.
got one more to play to get in the playoffs.
I don't watch sport ball.
Well, on a better
Me
note,
either.
the Falcons won, so we're gonna hope that the Braves can do it too.
Braves lost at 8-7, but
Let's hope for a small calendar tomorrow. Mrs.
Yeah.
Deciano is going to get help from another supervisor. I'll be hopefully coming in time for court. We have a lot of moving parts coming up in the next month, Your Honor. Please, you guys be patient with us. People are moving and shaking. We got folks out, tending to their lives, and so we're trying to cover everything gracefully. We appreciate it.
we got two or three people leaving the department here.
Well, that's not great.
No, it's not. I guess it creates a little security for the
Three
rest.
more on top of the three you just lost?
Well, we've got, let's see, we've got Mr. We got Javier Trejos is leaving, Donnie is leaving. Yeah, I don't know. I can't keep up with it. I just am glad they're not knocking on my door and asking me.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Keep
you
us
so much.
informed.
I appreciate the work you guys do.
Judge is
And
coming
you
to you,
also.
okay?
All right, thank you. See y'all tomorrow.
Okay, bye-bye.